Hello, this is Brett Bumeter from Zeta Mining, and we're here for episode 21, Faster Websites versus Gone in 3 seconds or less. I'm here with Warren Whitlock. How are you doing, Warren?
Hi. Hey, this is a weird topic for me because when I talk to people that own websites about speed, I get a general reaction to the web's fast enough. Everybody's got broadband. Life is good. So website owners, especially small businesses, don't seem to be paying very much attention to it, including me. But I'd like to look at another scenario. Let's talk about being web users. I'm going to assume that everybody with us on the Hangout is a web user. And if you've ever tried to buy anything or, check out or sign up for something or look something up when you're on your phone, you've experienced a delay. And it doesn't matter whether those are microseconds. If it's anything slower than what you want it to be faster. And I think 3 seconds is a long time now on a good mobile site or a responsive website where go to it and gosh, remember the days when we would load a website in 57 K or even less, and somebody would just brand new to designing a website, they put up a picture that is sheesh, back then even if it was 50 K of a picture, fairly small by today's standards, would just take forever. You just see it go scanning across and then a little bit more of it, and you could read the text and find out what you want and be done and shut down the site before half the picture load. And ever since then, I've been aware of it. As it doesn't matter how much faster my computer or my internet connection, everything gets. The mobile phones are like spectacular in speed compared to what. But I'm constantly complaining that I can't get a site to load on that. And so let's look at that experience and then what to do about it. From a user's point of view, it's everything. From Google's point of view, it's something, and it's how you're going to rank. And then if what's really important when you get into buying and doing transactions, it's vital. I've seen stats that say 75–80% of shopping cart are left empty. And think about that. If you went into a grocery store and 75% of the people in there had put stuff in their shopping cart and then abandoned it and walked out of the store, that would be a grocery store that was going to go broke really fast. So I think that's why we're talking about it. There's a lot of areas where you can improve and some simple techniques to do it. And if you have a website and you're not checking speed, it's going to cost you because your competition is doing it. I'm doing it, and I'm finding things on a regular basis where I've done something that's screwed up the speed of my, there's some background code or something I didn't know about. So hopefully that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's right. So it's with the advent of mobile browsing through smartphones and things like that, we kind of have this sense when we're using our device that if a site loads slow, maybe, well, the old sense was that maybe our connection is slow, it's AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile's fault or something like that it's loading slow. But more and more, those speeds are getting fast, and we're watching YouTube videos on our phones. We know that our device can crank through some stuff when it's delivered right. So now our new expectation or our present expectation is when we go to a site, if it loads slow, it must be the website. It's not our mobile device, because we know that it can usually get some very good speeds going. And for website owners, that means we have to step up and figure out what's going on with our sites, because there are a lot of, especially in the small to medium-sized businesses out there, or even people with blogs or personalities or coaches and mentors and service-side businesses. There's a lot of old sites out there running on shared hosting. It could be a VPS package. It could be a shared package. You might even be paying a lot of money for it, but those aren't always fast-loading setups, because it's kind of a generic one-size-fit-all server for a particular website. And what we're finding is that I've posted it in our Google Plus page, and I'll add it to the description of the YouTube show if you happen to watch it there. There's a good little infographic by Kissmetrics that puts together and shows abandonment rates and bounce rates, how they increase the longer it takes for a page to load. And we should, you should reflect on this. It's not just your home page. How long does it take for your home page to load? It's every subsequent page on your site. If you're creating an impression where it takes 4 seconds to load your home page and 8 seconds to load the next page, directions page or contact us page on your website, if those are going slow, you're creating a bad impression, a worse impression. Oh my gosh, I can't put up with this anymore. It's driving me nuts. I've got to leave type of impression. So it's definitely something that's important. Google is driving their, some of their SEO results. If your site is slow and your competitor is fast, your competitor is going to outrank you. So it's definitely one of those things that people need to be aware of. You need to go out and test your websites and the individual pages that are important on your website to figure out how fast they are. And those are some of we've got a set of action items or things that you can do to figure out if you're fast enough, and then some action items on some easy things that you can do to fix it, because you don't necessarily have to be a coder to solve these problems these days.
Well, I think you hit right on what we're expecting in a user experience, and there's so many factors that can involve it. I'm sure there's other people watching, and they're not sure whether they're on what a VPS host is, let alone whether or not they're on a VPS host. I'm not supposed to be when I had VPS, not supposed to be sharing any space or equipment with anybody. I'm not supposed to be on the same portion of the hard drive. It should be no problem at all. And then you find out that somehow the way that's networked has slowed things down. And I had like every website on the server that I was doing slowing down, being told I needed to buy a much larger package and change things. And I found out that it was just because of the rack where the thing was stored made a difference. But without some kind of tool, some kind of audit of what you're doing, you're lost. Today what I want is I'm sitting there with my iPad looking at something, and I go, it better go to the next picture. It better go to the next page. If I touch something, I don't want to sit there doing this or waiting for it. And I think that's the user experience we're going for, and vital to start thinking of how you can increase the user experience. We could do a whole nother show on some of the things you can do that have to do with how the content is presented. But think about this. A lot of discussion I see are people talking about changing an offer. Maybe we ought to put it on sale. Maybe we ought to offer this for free. Oh, you can't sell that. And you go and you look at their logs, and 90% of the people coming to the page are gone in 2 seconds. It's something very simple. 2 seconds means that maybe they just don't. Your offer isn't appealing to them on the first look. If they're there for a while and then seem to abandon the shopping cart, it may be because something's loading slow. So let's get into it and talk
Sure.
about some ways that you can speed up your site.
So there's a number of things that you can do, and the first thing that you have to do is you've got to know why you potentially need this. So step one is watch the first part of this show. If you've come in halfway, it's important that you understand why you're even considering this, why this is important, why that you can invest a whole lot of time in AdWords, you can invest a lot of time in conversion optimization, and that's all for naught if your landing page takes 5 seconds to load, and you're throwing your money down the drain if it takes 13 seconds to load, which from what I've seen is usually that's about the average speed that a lot of average, medium, small businesses sites, that's how fast they run, and that's just not fast enough for 2014. So know why this is important. And then the second thing is, and we're going to hit these kind of with the 80-20 rule. So the next thing is you need to know how fast your web host is. These are the people that host your website. They're the ones that power the server, lease you the space, and you need to start to get a handle on just how fast they are, because their speed is going to be the thing that drives 80% of your speed. There are some things that you can do to either slow things down or speed things up a little bit, but the server is going to be the big driver of this, and so we need to know what's going on there. So to start off, you need to do some page speed tests on your website. there's a couple different sites. One of them is called webpagetest.org, kind of a mouthful, but you know, they do what their domain name says they do. And all you do is type in your URL. They run a couple tests, and they'll tell you how fast it takes to load your site, how fast it takes to load your site the second time after your cache you know, plugin or tool may have kicked in. They'll show you some things like how long it takes from the time somebody tries to load it until your server actually responds, and then from there to when it actually loads the site. And that can be important because it's kind of the equivalent of if I called somebody up on the phone and it rings 2 times and then they pick up and I hear them, that might be okay. If I call and it rings 20 times and then they pick up, that's going to be a problem. And that's what that response time is about. If it takes too long to pick up the phone and start loading up the website, that can become a problem. And then after you get that benchmark of where you are today, you need to take a look at things like how fast is the theme if you're running. Generally, I work with WordPress websites. So the theme that a WordPress website runs on includes design elements, pictures and graphics and things like that, and some code. And not all themes are created equal. Some run very, very slowly because it's got bad code. Some load very slowly because they've got these great big image files or maybe background video or something like that. And that can be a big problem for mobile sites. So you need to know how fast your theme is before you load all your content in. So you might need to test that out on a test site or something like that. And then you have to take a look at some of your plugins. If your plugins are all out of date and you're running an old version of WordPress and you're also on an old server and you haven't updated anything in forever, you know, odds are your site's probably going to be running very slow for a whole bunch of reasons. Get everything updated and start testing it out. Some of those plugins probably aren't supported anymore and they need to be replaced with a new version made by somebody entirely different because the old developer may be gone. So check that out. Now, once you've got, you know, a sense of how fast your host is and how fast your theme is, then you can start to take a look at, you know, the question of, can I get faster service somewhere else? So this would be the equivalent of, well, I've got, you know, a Samsung smartphone or I've got an iPhone, and I'm not sure if it's really that fast on AT&T. Maybe I need to switch to Verizon. Or I'm on Sprint and they were good, but I get the feeling that they're going slow now. Maybe I should get the same type of phone over at AT&T or something like that. So we have to do the same thing here. Once you know how fast you're going, you then need to figure out, could I be faster somewhere else? Because like I said before, the host company, the people that set up your, that run your website through their server, they drive 80% of the speed. So you need to check out and see how fast your theme, your website might run on those. And that might even be worth, you know, setting up a temporary hosting plan for a couple months, load a copy over there, see how it runs, test out the speed, see if it's faster. I review these types of sites on a regular basis, and there's a couple out there that are usually hands down some of the fastest in the business. WP Engine comes to mind, Lightning Base comes to mind, Pressables following soon after on their heels. Those are some of the fastest. Now they cost a little extra, more than what people typically pay for what I would call generic hosting, like what I've had myself from like InMotion Hosting or HostGator or something like that. But they are very fast, and they'll load up a website in a second or two usually. And that's the goal you want. You want to be under 3 seconds, preferably under 2 on a good day, and maybe on a bad day, you know, 2 1/4 or something like that. So get things set up over there. If your theme ends up being too slow, get a faster theme. Get rid of the slow plugins. And as a throw-in extra, there's a free service out there called Cloudflare, Cloudflare. It's a free service. They block bots, spammy people that try to attack your website. All those bots, if they pile onto your site, almost like a denial of a service attack, they can slow your server down too. So you want as much protection on your server as you can get, and Cloudflare is one of the best out there at doing that, and they don't cost anything either. So those would be my tips. Find out how fast you are, find out how fast your server is, your host is, find out all the different components, and then see if there's anybody out there that's better, and start to move in that direction so that you're ready to do business for the rest of 2014 without losing all that mobile traffic.
Sure. Mobile traffic is now so important. You know, it's becoming a majority of visitors to some sites. If it's not a majority of visitors to your site, you can find this out in Google Analytics or Webmaster Tools. It's fairly easy to get a idea on there. But it may be that that any mobile user is just never coming back. And worse, if I come to your site on my phone, I may not get around to coming back to it on my computer. And or what happens to me a lot of times is I'll be using the iPad. I've got a 50 megabyte download connection, so I know that it's not me when I'm at home and on Wi-Fi. And I'll sit there and the site's just not loading. I may just decide to give up on it altogether. That's on the same speed as my desktop. I'm a mobile user though, so I say in my browsing it's over 50% on the iPad. So that's vitally important. And then I'd say if there's one thing out of that list that you just have to do, get the URL of your main domain or your most important page. Go over to one of the services. You said
webpagetest.org. Pingdom is another one. They've got a free tool. You have to dig into their menu system to find the tools.
And it's absolutely free. And if you haven't done that, go do that right away. Wait for us to. Well, first of all, subscribe here for more tips later, and then go over there and do it. And it's just that alone will come out with some recommendations. If you're lost on what those recommendations are, at least you can start looking for the help that you need. And guaranteed, if you haven't done a website, a webpagetest.org test. Let's stick with one. Webpagetest.org. If you haven't done one of those tests, do it, and guaranteed you're going to see something that's going to be a place where you can improve. And I've had instances where I just took something that I thought plain, simple blog website that I had running for a while, went over there and stuck it into one of those tools and found out things that I could do that were doubling and tripling the speed, or actually decreasing the load time. And some of them are simple, like you've stuck in a very large photo and you weren't really sure. Boy, I don't think any of us are sure anymore with now default being to have large banners and large photos. And if you try to upload too small of a photo to Facebook, sometimes it will say, no, we don't want that. Google Plus for sure. No, you can't use that. It's not big enough. And so we get used to handling big photos fast. Well, the photo you take on a camera uploaded to your website is still way too big. Megapixels of resolution. Easy way to find out what those things are, and usually a recommendation right there where you can find a tool to fix some of those simple things. It gets a little bit more technical and you're lost. There's help out there. Brett tests themes and plugins for speed for a living, so you can just seek out at Brett Bum on just about anywhere. I prefer Twitter.
Twitter's, YouTube, where have you? And I'm going to include some additional links in our YouTube video as well. You were mentioning, you're very correct about the size of images. Even with WordPress and websites in general these days, they're pushing people to put higher quality, larger images in to get that full screen effect. But not all themes are built well, and these days they should be built to be responsive. That means depending on the screen that the site is displaying on, whether it's full screen computer, big screen TV, iPad, iPhone, Samsung, Galaxy Smart Tab, whatever it is, it should display just the right size image. And we're not talking about a percentage shrink, we're talking about a specific image. Your theme should take that big image and create copies of multiple different sizes so that it can then later display that image correctly. Not all themes do that well, not all themes do that right. I say count on it, on whatever you're using now not being the perfect theme for that. But there are workarounds, there are things you can do with that. First of all, you got to find out that you have the problem. And so speed test is personally, Cloudflare, I put it on everything now. It's amazing how I'll see days when I have 75% of my traffic was bots. They stop it. I never see it. Means that my hosting bill is a lot less than it would be if I was just sending all those people over to my site. And in some cases, like you say, the denial of service attacks,
And a denial of service attack, if you don't know, is somebody sending a whole lot of traffic to something to where if the server gets too busy, breaks down, and then they can find a vulnerability in the server that way. For a practical purpose, for most of us, what that means is if you're getting a whole lot of traffic, even just dumb bots, it's going to screw up whether or not that page is going to serve fast to the next person. So Cloudflare eliminates that, eliminates the problem with having where your server is located, because they've got distribution points all over the place, and you know.
Yep, they've been around for a long time now.
Those two things are just like a must now for me.
Yep,
run at least one speed test and get Cloudflare. And then past that, the next step has got to be look at getting an optimal theme. Or if you have any kind of problems at all, you just contact Brett. He's a pro. That's
sure.
what he does.
A couple of rules of thumb, too. If your theme's more than 2 years old, odds are it's not up to date. You need something newer these days. Too much has changed in the last year and a half, and it's time to refresh the design with something that'll be modern and responsive. And another thing is email. We don't always think about our email, but a lot of small, medium-sized businesses, they run their email through the same server that they run their website from. And there are spam blocking programs and scripts and things like that that'll run in those email programs. If you may not see all the spam that's coming through, hopefully you're not. If it's doing its job, it's blocking a lot of spam. But there may be a whole lot of spam going into a black box somewhere that you never see, and that's all work being done by your server. If that server gets overloaded with spammy email, again, it can slow things down, and that can slow down the loading time of your website. So you need to take a look at getting a business email hosted plan separate from your website. It's time to, for a long time, for a decade or so, people have bundled those in. It was just an extra freebie that came with a website, but now it's becoming a problem, especially since speed and load times are so important for the website itself. And frankly, things like Office 365's Outlook email service or Google Business Apps, those are, flat out awesome in terms of getting rid of all the extra spam. Those
and it's all done on big corporations' equipment and not yours, so they know how to take care of the things. Yeah, that's a great point, because 90% of, at least 90% of the volume in email is considered to be spam. And it's a lot of effort out there fighting it. Don't let it be something that you're trying to fight. I had a server once that just stopped working, and I went and logged into it and found out that I had megabytes of mail going to sales at whatever, and I didn't use such an address. Somebody had been going through and using the vaults, and it's kind of flavor of the month for spammers. Where they used to just find email addresses, and they started making them up, and now they've got even some more sophisticated ways to try to get something through. But if you happen upon one of those times when somebody is trying webmaster at, host at, manager at your website, if they were doing one of those things, boy, you could fill up a server in no time. Yeah, literally the almost none of my email goes that. None of my email being sent goes off of my server. Just too many places it can be a problem, and there's pros that do that cheaply today. And the stuff we're talking about today so far is all free. You can upgrade your Cloudflare account. You can upgrade your hosting account to a better hosting account, and you can buy a premium theme. All things that are probably worth doing if you're finding yourself in that situation. But to find out if you need it, nothing but a speed test.
Yep, find out if you need it, and the ROI will be obvious once you start to determine how much business you're potentially losing. We mentioned this earlier. When you're looking at your Google Analytics, be careful, because you may see that you're only getting 10, 15, 20% of your traffic from mobile visitors today, and that could be for two reasons. One, Google has already change their SEO rankings, and when somebody's doing a Google search from their phone, you don't list well because your site's too slow. And two, when you do happen to list and somebody does come to your website, it's so slow they don't come back, and they are self-training themselves not to go to your website. So your percentage of traffic today for mobile might look low at first glance. Odds are, if you're doing things well, you should be seeing 40, 45% of your traffic coming from mobile. If you're not seeing that, then you've probably got a problem that your analytics aren't necessarily showing you directly today. Look back through your history, you might even see, a drop-off in mobile traffic over the last couple of years.
Right, and that definitely shouldn't be that way. Mobile traffic is like skyrocketing. I don't know about double per year, but it's up there in high 2 digits or 3 digits as a percentage. If you're not experiencing that, you really are missing out on it. Some of the things we've seen happen in the optimization over the years, and the reason why all the themes and plugins and WordPress itself keeps getting updated is that there's a lot of places gotchas. It used to be you design a site for mobile and you design a different site for tablets and a different site for people with big screens and small screens, and all that mattered. I used to see stats where I had Internet Explorer broken down into 10 different types of Internet Explorer that came and visited my site. Some of that's gone, and now the situation is more mobile and even in speed. So, think ahead. If you're not losing traffic because of speed now and haven't done anything about it, guaranteed you will, or you might be losing it and just don't know about it. So take a few minutes, figure that out, get the kind of help that you need, and then we move on to some other things about how to make it simple for somebody to get signed up and how to structure your offer and what people are seeing, which is more about looking at your site from the user's point of view. But today's topic is about hardware speed and how you're set up. So, and Brett, do you want to tell people where they can go if they want to look at your faster themes?
Sure. So I'm in the midst of launching a new project over at wpthemespeed.com where we review different themes out of the box, and we review them on different hosting plans. Typically, we're looking at the managed WordPress hosting plans. These are the faster, the easier ones, the ones that will take care of 80% of your problem. And we're trying to figure out, where they're the best and help show you how to navigate the pricing structure. Pricing for these are a little different than what many people are used to with traditional generic hosting companies. But even some of those are starting to come around. GoDaddy and Media Temple have just within the last month or two started to update and refresh their own hosting offerings and product offerings and speed things up themselves. They see the trend coming, but there are a lot of other hosting companies out there that have not done anything to refresh yet. They're still doing things the same way they did in 2002, and basically their answer is to simply take more of your money and put you into a bigger box with a bigger hard drive, as if that would solve the problem. And
we had a period of time where that made a big difference.
Years ago it did, yes. And
yeah.
For some sites it still can if you have a guy that's excellent at server optimization.
If they haven't if you haven't heard from your hosting company that they're upping the value of what you're getting, you've got a problem. And yeah, I have one account I work with that I think they were getting 200 megabytes when they started, and been involved with them 12 years, and we're now giving them I don't know, like 10 gigabytes on the same account for the same price. And your host could be constantly upgrading, but most likely they're not, because they're dealing in volume and they're waiting to see till you complain. And boy, it's really easy to tell somebody to get a bigger, faster processor, a bigger, faster hard drive. And when they all get as good as they are today, we start looking at some other options. Best way to find out, that speed test, and when you get stumped, call Brett.
Yep, no, that's the thing. Bandwidth used to be the measure for a lot of hosting situations. If they were providing enough bandwidth and you get charged for too much bandwidth and things like that. These days, it's not just how much you can shove down the pipe in total; it's how fast you can push it out there. So
absolutely.
If you can, if your hosting plan offers 10 gigs in bandwidth, let's say, but they trickle it out at 56 kilobytes a second or something like that, dial-up speed, it's not doing you any good.
Look at, and also go look at your site on your phone, on your pad, on a friend's computer, and as many different places as you can, and different hookups to it, and find out if your video is running slower than the Netflix video, which everybody is watching. That you got to do something to compete with that, and some of the fixes are just ultra simple and even free. So Can't
Yeah.
overemphasize doing that. The other thing we ought to emphasize today is how important it is to subscribe to Zeta Mining.
There you go. Yeah, no, we are on YouTube.com. We do Google Hangouts, and all of our shows get recorded automatically into our Zeta Mining channel at YouTube.com. You can find us in other places, Zeta Mining through Twitter or ZetaMining.com, etc. But the place to start is over at YouTube.com. Check us out there. If you find something useful, hit the like button, share it out, or hit subscribe if you want to check back. We do a show every week. Generally, that's around 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 2 o'clock Central, and I believe, or no, I'm going the wrong way. That's 1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central, and what's that, 10 o'clock?
10 in the morning for me here on the West Coast.
Right.
So, yeah, and wherever you're watching this, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We've made some major changes to the show in the last episode or so. Go back and watch episode 20 to see us talking about that. And we are trying to pack a lot of information into a half hour, and it's about up. And I think we delivered a few more things than what we had planned for today. So.
Yep. No, I think we
let us know, though. We can always do better.
30 minutes today. So thanks again, everybody. Check us out. Again, youtube.com/ZetaMining. You can find Warren also on Twitter at Warren Whitlock. I'm on Twitter at Brett Bum, and we'll see you again next week.